Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. And hello, happy Thursday, everybody. Sorry, my camera is not okay. There we go. Welcome to Once Upon a Turkey Leg. My name is Dean, the Turkey Legster, and tonight, as always, we're going to be reading a couple of fun stories. And as always, I'm going to wait a couple minutes for people to come in. While we're doing that, I'm going to show again this thing because it's still handy that I bought at the Magic Kingdom last week on Wednesday. So a week from yesterday, a week ago, a week and 1 day from today ago. I went to the Magic Kingdom and had a good day. And I found the 2023 calendar, and I showed it last Thursday, but I did not realize that the calendar includes September through December. So this was September. This is October. The Haunted Mansion there. And give me 1 second. I have to check something. So I'm not sure I have. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, anyway, back to the stream as normally scheduled. This will be, oh, this is fun. This is November, Little Green Man. That is on Alien Swirling Saucers in Hollywood Studios, where I actually went Tuesday. So I've been to Disney a little more lately. And this is December. These are the lights on the castle, which will not be there this year, returning this year. Disney just announced a week or so ago. And then when we get to January, this page is January. It is the Skyliners going into the, looks like going into the station in between the Art of Animation Resort and the Pop Century. So with that, just a few pages on there. I just wanted to show that again and open it up and kind of show some things. So anyway, hope you, again, your Thursday is going well and going gobble-tastically. I'm going to wait till I clear up. There we go. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the stories tonight. If you're watching live and watching, hello. If you're watching on the replay, hello. In the other case, give me a bop on the like button. It's around here somewhere. And yep, or do. So tonight, Our first story is, as a way of introduction, by the way, sorry, Dory moment. Um, the next 2 Thursdays is going to be some like official Halloween themed stories. But tonight I found a few stories that kind of have a spooky theme to them-ish. The first one we're going to read features the characters from Disney Pixar monsters. It's called The Spooky Sleepover. So get your snacks out, get your warm blankie ready, get cozy. We're going to read. It was a quiet morning at Monsters Incorporated. James P. Sullivan was looking over the monthly laugh reports. Sully was the president of Monsters Incorporated. Suddenly, the phone rang. "Hello?" Sully said. "It's dispatch," said the voice at the other end of the line. "Annual slumber party at little Shannon Brown's house. Waxford is out sick. We need a replacement." Sully thought about who to send. He wanted to put his best monster on the case. He smiled to himself. Who better for the job than his friend Mike Wazowski? Mike could make anyone laugh, and he was the top laugh collector at Monsters Incorporated. Sully knew his best friend would be the perfect choice. Mike was in the locker room, getting ready for work, when Sully walked in and explained the situation. "I'm your man," Mike said confidently. "Great!" Sully exclaimed. Whistling, he went back to his office to finish his laugh reports. "A room full of kids? Collecting laughs will be a piece of cake," Mike said as the door slid into his station on the laugh floor. Mike opened the door and walked through the closet in Shannon Brown's room. It was empty. "Hello?" Mike called. He looked around and peeked under the bed, but there was no one there. Just as Mike started walking toward the closet, he heard laughter. "All right, now we're talking," Mike said. "Kids, prepare to roll with laughter." Just then, a flash of lightning lit up the dark room, and thunder cracked across the sky. Mike jumped. If there was one thing that scared him, it was thunderstorms. Job or no job, he was getting out of there. Mike raced back to the closet, but when he opened the door, he was standing in a normal closet, not the laugh floor. Mike realized that the lightning must have broken the door. He knew that he needed to find the slumber party and another closet door fast. Heading into the dark hallway, Mike tried to follow the sound of laughter. The floor creaked spookily beneath him. Mike stopped and looked around. The wall was covered in creepy paintings of people, and they all seemed to be staring right back at him. I've got to get out of here, Mike muttered to himself. Then he saw something scary that made him freeze in his tracks. Sitting at the end of the hall was a large furry creature with fangs. Thinking the creature was a fellow monster, Mike started to walk closer, relieved. Suddenly, the creature jumped on him, knocking him down. It wasn't a monster, it was a dog. Ah! Mike screamed. He hated dogs. Mike pushed the dog off him and ran into a nearby room, then slammed the door shut. He was safe for now. Meanwhile, Sully was working on the laugh floor. Sully, Sully, the floor manager shouted, running over. Mike still hasn't returned from the slumber party. When Sully checked the door, he found it wasn't working. Mike was trapped. Sully didn't like the idea of Mike being stuck in Shannon's house. He needed to fix the door now. He quickly brought in a maintenance crew. Together, the monsters tried to get it to open properly, but nothing worked. Sully and the monsters decided to try getting into Shannon's house using a new door. Finally, it made a clicking sound. It worked. Now the door would open into a different room in the house. Back in the house, Mike opened another door. It led to the bathroom. As Mike searched for the light switch, he tripped on a yellow rubber ducky. Ouch, he said, as he went rolling across the floor like a ball. Finally, Mike crashed into the wall and came to a stop. Suddenly, he heard giggling from down the hall. Mike did not like this assignment or this house, but as long as he was stuck there, he was determined to find the party. Lifting himself off the floor, he followed the laughter to a door. But when he opened it, the room was quiet. Slowly, Mike entered the dark, silent room. All of a sudden, a light went on. Mike jumped. Shannon Brown and all her friends roared with laughter. They thought Mike looked funny sneaking into the room. Ah! Mike was so scared he couldn't stop yelling. At that moment, the closet door opened and Sully burst into the room. When he heard Mike screaming, he started screaming too. Mike jumped into Sully's arms. The girls at the slumber party laughed even harder. A big blue monster with purple spots hugging a one-eyed little green monster was one of the funniest things they had ever seen. Mike and Sully laughed at each other. Then Mike jumped to the floor and they both took a bow. The kids cheered. Looks like our work here is done, Sully said with a smile. He and Mike headed through the closet door and back to the laugh floor. They had filled so many canisters with laughs that Mike was named the top laugh collector that day. I was never scared for a second, Mike said, hoping Sully would believe him. Me neither, buddy, Sully replied, his big furry fingers crossed behind his back. Me neither. And that is the first story on tonight's show. Let me find the second story. We're going back into the more classic side of Disney with this story. And our second story tonight is Captain Hook's Shadow, featuring the characters from Disney's Peter Pan. Captain Hook's Shadow. Walk the plank, Peter Pan, John Darling yelled, waving a wooden sword at his brother Michael. The boys were playing in their nursery. John was pretending to be Captain Hook, and Michael was pretending to be Peter Pan. I won't walk the plank, Michael said. You're a codfish, Captain Hook. I'll get you for that, Pan, John cried. As the brothers chased each other around the room, Michael felt like he was back in Neverland. All right, John and Michael, time for bed, Wendy said, walking into the room. Just 5 more minutes, John pleaded. Oops. All right, Wendy agreed, walking out of the nursery. A few more minutes. John and Michael began another pretend battle, but the minutes passed quickly, and soon Wendy returned. Now it's really time for bed, you two, she said. Michael and John put down their swords and crawled into their beds. Wendy turned out the light and got into bed too. She was sleeping in the nursery while her new bedroom was being decorated. Michael pulled up the covers. He wasn't the least bit tired. Soon John and Wendy were fast asleep. Michael squeezed his eyes shut, but it was no use. He kept picturing Captain Hook trying to capture Peter Pan. Suddenly, Michael heard a rattling sound, followed by a loud whoosh. He opened his eyes and looked around. The nursery windows were thrown wide, were thrown wide open, but no one was there. Then Michael noticed a shadow against the far wall. He gasped in fear. The shadow looked just like Captain Hook. Michael wanted to run, but he couldn't. He would have to hide. Michael quickly dove under the covers. Captain Hook was scary, but being under the covers didn't make Michael feel any better. He needed to know if the pirate was in the nursery. Slowly, he lifted the bottom edge of his blanket and peeked out. Dun 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 dun. Oh, that's Pink Panther, isn't it? Never mind. Michael still couldn't see Hook, but the captain's shadow was right there against the wall, as large as life. The shadow looked around the nursery for a moment. Then it began to creep toward the far corner. A chill ran down Michael's spine. Captain Hook was headed right toward Wendy. Michael knew he had to protect Wendy. As he glanced around the nursery, his eyes fell on his wooden sword. Michael reached down and grabbed the sword just as the shadow got to Wendy. He threw off his covers and leaped toward it. The shadow stumbled backward. Michael lunged at it again, but it swiped at him with its hook. Michael dove under his bed. The shadow reached for him, but he darted away just in time. The shadow jumped onto the bed. Michael gulped, waiting for the hook to swipe at him again. He wondered why he was seeing only Captain Hook's shadow. Where was Hook hiding? Michael knew he had to do something. He couldn't stay under the bed forever. Captain Hook was sure to get him sooner or later. Michael dashed into the middle of the room, but the shadow came after him. As he tried to get away, he tripped over a ball. The shadow skulked toward him. Shivering, Michael pictured the crocodile that waited for anyone who walked the plank. Suddenly, Michael heard someone call out, "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" "Peter Pan!" Michael shouted as his hero flew in. "I'm so glad you're here. Captain Hook tried to get Wendy, but I stopped him." "Hook is here?" Peter asked, looking around. "Why, it's Captain Hook's shadow. Don't let it get away." The shadow tried to run, but Peter flew after it. "It's only a shadow?" Michael asked. Suddenly, he wasn't so scared. He leaped up from the floor and ran after it too. "Grab it from the other side," Peter called. Michael ran toward the shadow from the right as Peter flew at it from the left. The shadow was trapped. In a flash, Michael reached out and caught it. "Put it in here," Peter cried, holding out a sack. Michael stuffed the shadow into the sack, and Peter tied it closed. "That was close," Peter said. Why was Captain Hook's shadow here? Michael asked, excuse me. I stole the shadow for a prank, Peter explained. Some prank! The shadow has been nothing but trouble. It pulled the lost boys' tails and put pine cones in their beds. Then it flew away from Neverland to cause trouble in London. That sounds really awful, Michael cried, looking at Peter with wide eyes. I'm glad we caught it. Peter nodded. Thanks for your help, Michael. Peter fly back to Neverland and return it right away. Everyone aboard Captain Hook's ship is still asleep. Those nasty pirates have already caused enough trouble. Do you want to come with me? Peter asked Michael. It'll be a great adventure. Not without Wendy and John, Michael replied. Then let's bring them, Peter said, flying over to Wendy's bed. He reached down to give her a gentle shake, then drew his hand back. Ah, she's asleep. He looked over at John and said, John's asleep too. Maybe next time, Peter said, jumping to the window ledge. Goodbye, Michael. Tell Wendy and John that I said hello, he called. Then he flew out into the night. I will, Michael promised. He waved good night and then went back to bed, smiling. He was glad to have had another adventure with Peter. And that is the end of Captain Hook's Shadow. And that is our final story tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am looking forward to the next 2 Thursday nights reading Halloween themed stories. I hope you will join me on October the 20th and October the 27th, the next 2 Thursdays, for Halloween themed stories. The 2 Thursdays leading up to Halloween, which is on a Monday. So looking forward to that. The next 2 Thursdays. Also, check me out on Tuesday. Tuesday at 9. Also, the Big Gobble will be back at its normal time. I went during the day on Tuesday from Disney's Hollywood Studios. That was about an hour and a half stream, maybe an hour and 40 minutes. And so did that during the afternoon on Tuesday. Had a lot of fun with that. And so anyway, have a great Thursday night. Once again, if you are watching on the replay, give me a thumbs up and let me know. And I had a spinny on my screen. I hope I didn't cut out there for you on the replay. Anyway, so have a great night. Take care. Have a gobble-tastic Thursday night, weekend, and I will see you next time. So until then, remember to follow the happy.